Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Breaking the Silence. You have a voice. I am your host, Lady V, and we have a super exciting show for you today. But before I get started, I want to introduce our all our other hosts on the show. We have today with us the beautiful Joy. How you doing, Joy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. You looking pretty spiffy today. I like the
Oh,
little
thank
sporty
you.
outfit.
Yeah,
And
you know, little something, something, a little
yeah,
razzle dazzle.
you matching with my beautiful mom, Dr. Bennett. How you doing, Mom?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. I'm doing well.
Always looking lovely as usual. And we have Dr. Isaac. How you doing today?
What up, everybody? I'm doing well, doing well.
How was that vacation in Chi-Town?
Chi-Town was awesome. It was a bit colder than what I expected, but other than that, everything was great.
Good. Well, I need some cold over here. We're in 112 degrees here in California. I'm not trying to be in
Uh,
112 degrees. It's
Hey,
a little
that's that
hot.
good old dry heat. Oh no,
Yeah.
oh no, cause you up in Northern Cal, so y'all
No,
got
it's
so
dry. It's dry for sure.
okay,
It's
yeah.
it's hot though. And Reverend Jay, how you doing?
Hey, what's going
Hello.
on?
What's going on? How's it
Right.
going?
Everything going well? The family's on vacation. I'm at home, so some nice
Oh, you
peace and
got some
quiet.
me time. All right, all
You
right.
know it.
That's what's up. All right. And last but not least, we have I'm not sure where she's at, but there she is. How you doing, Saveda?
Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Well, today's topic that we're going to be talking about is, you know, I don't know if you also saw the accident that they had in LA, but there was an accident where the young lady
Jesus.
was going like 90, okay? And I watched that video at least,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say a good 20 times because Derek and I were trying to wrap our head around what were you doing that was so like important that you had to be going 90 to 100 and you killed six people, which
Mm,
those two people were a baby and a mom who was pregnant with her other child. And so when we went back and we looked at the video, we saw that she deliberately crashed into the vehicle.
mm,
And no, and some say that she was in an intense argument with her boyfriend or whoever she was on the phone with. It's a lot of things that was said, but I kind of chalked it up to she was angry and maybe a little enraged. And then Anne Heesh, same type of incident. I don't know if you all know Anne Heesh, but she was driving and she drove her car into a house. So I was like, okay, we've all heard of road rage and people just being angry. I don't know if you've all experienced it. Hopefully none of y'all do it because it's really not cool. But we want to talk about anger management because there's a lot of angry people out there, and now we're taking our anger and we're hurting other people, and so I kind of did my research and I found anger to be like an internal um poison because a lot of times people who are angry, they don't really think they're angry. They say that, well, I'm just having a moment, but there's a difference when you're having a moment and your inability to um manage your anger because when you're managing, you can be angry, but at the same time, you're not overboard. So we want to talk about that today. We want to talk about, first of all, what does anger, like overboard anger, look like? Because a lot of times, people are like, no, I'm not. I'm just expressing how I feel. I'm just expressing my thoughts. But what does that look like? What does really super angry
Yeah.
people uh, portray?
V, I have to agree with you. First, I want to say that your anger management is all an internal issue. It's a self issue. It's never about the other person, because you are responsible for controlling your behavior, your actions, your thoughts, your rage. I am responsible for controlling that for me. Um, I used to be of a person of a rage anger, and mine. Well, I ain't gonna say I used to be, because mine kind of shows up today too. But mine shows up when when that you blatantly lie on me, and that's what mine show up. But I used to have it really really bad. When I say I had a horrible anger issue, I
Mm.
did. But I took the realization that this was unhealthy, because I knew that it could actually hurt somebody. Um, so I took ownership of the rage that I had, and I said I must be the one to control this, and that's exactly what I did. So even today, I make it a point that even when I'm angry, I got 5 minutes. I got 5 minutes. Let me share my anger in 5 minutes. If if I am angry and it's from conversation, I actually purposely walk away, and I give myself that 5 minutes to have the anger, and I come back so that I can speak effectively about what I'm saying, because I don't ever want that to be displayed in the conversation. Uh, so with these two, and I'm going to start with the nurse. Oh my God, that was horrible. And then to even get the backstory and to see that she did that 13 times previously. My
Yes.
thing is that she did that 13 times previously, then how was the system still allowing her to drive?
Right.
Especially because they said that these were chronic accidents that she did previously.
Well, I want to say anger is a natural emotion. But
Hmm.
the problem is that when a person allowed themselves to get so angry, they lose control, and lose because of their emotions and their actions. The Bible says this: a man that has no control over his own soul, give me emotions, is like a city without walls.
Yep.
The worst thing you want to be is a person that allows yourself to get so angry that you just lose control, because then anybody, matter of fact, people right now, people know that, and people will play to people anger because they know. For example, when Donald Trump place got raided, some guy took it upon himself to get angry, so angry he went to the FBI office with a gun, like they don't have guns, and thought he's going to have a standoff with the FBI. And guess what? He died. And guess what? People already know that there's gonna be people with that kind of reaction, and they're playing you and causing you to go do their bidding because they know you have no self control. So, again, it's important that we, I'll say, get a grip of our emotions. And the Bible says this: be angry, but sin not. So you can get angry, but you still are responsible for your actions.
So
And
I'm gonna ask this question. So is it that anger starts when from a child, or is it developed as you become an adult and you get older? Because being around children, Derek and I were talking, and we were saying how like how children are allowed to fall out, and they're allowed to kick, and they're allowed to scream, but the doctors say that these are normal behaviors. Well, my kids didn't do that. They weren't allowed to do that. My kids wasn't allowed to fall out. My children weren't allowed to scream. They weren't allowed to kick. They weren't allowed to bite. They just weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
the children of today, it seems like the parents are not as in control of their children's behavior as there were years ago. So now we have these out of control children with all of these anger emotions, and they're not being taught how to use their words. Because when our children were growing up, you just couldn't cry for nothing. You know, if you were just crying it out, our parents would say, "I'm gonna give you something to cry about." You just couldn't just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna fall out," you know, "I'm gonna kick, I'm gonna scream." That just wasn't allowed. And it just seems like now this generation is like, people don't know how to control their anger and their emotions where they use their words. And I think that that's a major problem.
It
Well,
is, because I think that what happens is anger. Everyone will experience anger. I think the problem happens when your anger become rage. Because rage is uncontrollable. Rage is for some people, they may experience have an out of body experience, where they call it in the hood blacking out. Where I've heard of times where people, they say they just get tunnel vision, and you know, they see red, and you know, and those are the things you need to look out for. And I think when you have children, you may be trying to see how far they can go when they have their temper tantrums. I think if you don't control that and let them know that that is unacceptable, I believe they become adults who become adults who have, you know, uncontrollable temper tantrums, and that can be dangerous, because no one's going to say to an adult, "Oh, it's okay. Oh, just give him 5 minutes. Oh, tell him he gets time out." No one tells that to a 19-year-old man. You know, no one will tell. A police officer's not going to say, "Oh yeah, well, it's okay." A police officer's going to pull his gun out or pull out his taser, and then we'll be sitting up here talking about let's march. But if you would have did what you had to do when he was a child, we could have probably had skipped this part of the story.
But not only that, we have to realize that, like when V said, "I'm gonna give you something to cry about," we have to stop that in this day and age, because that's when you cannot let out what you feel, and anger and emotion when it comes to your emotions, that you holding that in, and then when you become an adult, next thing you know, you running down the highway like a girl did, killing folks. So we got to let our children know that it's okay to cry. It is okay to be upset, but we have to teach them how to handle that.
Yes.
In a healthy way. But being upset and angry is okay. It's part of what we, you know, do as an adult. Is how we handle it is the problem.
Right.
Yes, that's why, you know, that's why that I said that you have to take ownership to your own actions. I took ownership to mine. No one, and watch this, no one had to tell me that. I realized myself that the rage I had from my anger could potentially create something greater than what I'm willing to accept the punishment for. So I said, let me control this. Let me bring this under subjection. And I like what Rev J said in the scripture that he used, because we are owners to our own emotions. I also agree with what Silvadia said is that we have to show and teach our children on how to properly release anger. Yes, you can be angry. You can have anger, but don't allow the anger to turn into rage, because the moment it becomes rage, it is completely unhealthy. And I know me. It is not something, you know, even though I practice this for years and years and years, that it's practice, it's something that you still have to master, because of the fact that something can be brought up really, really quick to make you to actually get you back to that point of anger, or even to the point of outrage. So it's something that you consistently have to practice daily.
Now I'm gonna say this also. We live in a society now that tells us you can do what you want to do, you can say what you want to say, you can act the way you want to act, but in reality, that is not real. Because, you know, we see this on, you know, when it comes to particularly African Americans, when they are stopped and they get up and try to act like, you know, and start voicing opinion to a police officer, somebody gets shot. So again, look, I believe that, you know, yes, raise your children, let them act out, let them cry, but also you got to teach them discipline. You know, you got to teach them control. You know, you can be angry, I tell my son all the time, you can be angry. You can voice your opinion too, but better make sure you voice it in a very respectful way. That's what's going to happen. Because again, we have a world that's going out of control because we think we are saying, oh, you can do what you want to do, but in reality about it, when a person does what they want to do, they create chaos, and that's what we're seeing in our country right now, even in the political world.
Well, some of our individuals, some individuals that are incarcerated right now, and in other places in mental institutions, we're told stay in a child's place. Don't say a word. This don't have nothing to do with you. You have to allow children to express their emotions, because if you don't, their emotions grow bigger than them. And when, like you said, you have to teach them discipline, but children are no different than us. And then the other thing is, when children, like Lady V said, her children weren't allowed to kick and so forth and so on. And that's good. But you have children today that are not raised the way Lady V raised hers, or the way I raised mine, or maybe the way Joy raised hers, or even you. This generation is totally different. Totally different. You have children today that are so angry on the inside because of environment, things that are said to them. And I want to address Dr. Isaac. He said, that anger rises up in him right now, and he has to take a walk. You see, if you are an adult and anger is still rising up, you need to find out where it's coming from, because there's a root. There's a root to anger, and because as an adult, and especially an adult walking in the wisdom that they're supposed to be walking into, we should not be having anger expressions, rage, and so forth and so on, like we did when we were in that dark place. But children today are angry. A lot of them are very, very angry, but you have to teach them. Then the other thing is, you have to make sure that there's nothing psychologically wrong with them.
Yeah, too.
Because there are some children, like Lady V said, her children didn't do this and didn't do that. That's good. Mine didn't either. But now, let's face it, children eat differently now. The nutrition is differently now. They're not getting the nutrients to the brain like they did years ago. They're living off of McDonald's and Burger King and so forth and so on. All of that takes part in how they respond and how they do control their anger. Full of sugar. A lot of parents, I look at a lot of parents that as soon as that child starts to cry, they're in the mall, they give them a lollipop, they give them candy. No, that's not good. So we need to make sure that the child is not just falling out or having a temper tantrum because of the lack of discipline. Yes, we do have to discipline, but we have to make sure that child is not having some psychological thing, because there's a lot of that going on with our children today, from as young as a year and up.
Oh yeah.
I have to say though, I think that in today's society, we have put more, and I saw it transpiring when I had my children. I remember my children coming home and telling me, that their teachers told them that they have a right to express their emotions. And, one thing about it, I do agree that children should be able to tell you how they feel, but not to the place to where their emotions are out of control. And I think that starts again when they are young. They take a 1-year-old. A 1-year-old, when they start rearing back, no, they understand what no means. So I think that a lot of it, because they go from 1 to 2 to all the different stages, I think that it's more of a parental issue than it is anything else. And then we put all of the other things in it because parents don't want to be responsible to actually, when children are little, to train their children. It comes with training. So
right.
training your children means you tell them no. Now we started where, when you fell back, I'm gonna tap your thigh. Then when you got two, now I'm gonna paddle that butt. When you got 3 and 4, there was more of a discipline that took place because they understood I can't do this. But now you have all of these doctors or all of these different like children biting. Okay, well, what's the difference between children back then and now? Oh, well, biting is a sensory thing. The children bite. No, children didn't bite because if you bit, you knew you was gonna get your behind whooped. The children are acting out because there's the lack of discipline and consequences to a lot of things that they do. So now they become full-fledged adults. Now let's talk about the adult people. Well, let's go to the teenagers. So now they teenagers. And I'm listening to these kids. I couldn't cuss at my mama. I couldn't tell my mama off. I couldn't even look at my mom wrong. My children couldn't look at me wrong. But now we don't even have an influence. I'm looking at people and their children say things, and I'm like, boy, you need to be my child for about 5 whole seconds. Because it's yelling and screaming. And are we putting so much now on the mental and not the what we did when the kids was growing up, I guess is what I'm saying. Because even we were talking about corporal punishment in the school. We acted out, people spanked our butt. That's how it was. You didn't go off on adult people, but now the kids are so outraged. It's like there is the anger with children that are young all the way to adults is way out of control. I just think
I agree with you, Lady V. I agree with you that it's more of the parents' responsibility. But you have to realize too that a lot of parents that's raising this group now, they're out of control.
Yeah.
And the apple fall far from the tree. A lot of adults, they didn't count up the cost having these children, thinking that, they're going to be cute and this, but they grow up to be teenagers and so forth and so on. And now they realize I missed my life because I had to, raise you. They're full of anger, and they pass that on off to the children. I mean, I walk the malls, and I saw something that disturbed me so badly yesterday. This lady literally grabbed her. She was yelling at her son in the mall, in a public place, snatching him and yelling at him like he was not even human. But she is the one that's carrying the anger, so of course it's going to pass on off to the child.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's again, and I went to the military, so in the military you're taught to listen. You're taught to be disciplined. And again, at the same time, my parents taught me this: Joshua, you respect adults. If an adult says something to you, you do not. I would never back talk an adult. I still wouldn't do it now. And if I do it, I would do it in a very respectful manner. But this is what these children are missing these days. They missing that kind of stuff where, like some kids these days will talk back to an adult. But again, that's parenting. That is training. I'll tell my son in a minute. If adult tell you something, you don't talk about it. You don't try to explain yourself. You just do it. If you got a problem, then you come talk to me. Other than that, you need to go into action. Because let me give you an example. We take swimming lessons now, and I was telling him to do something. He's just looking at me, I'm like, you need to do it. And then again, and then of course, when I got home, I checked him on it. I said, no, if I tell you to do something, you need to do it. But again, these children don't have that kind of discipline, and they don't have that kind of respect for authority or adults, which then leads to they have no respect for authority. Again, they now feel they can do anything they want to do whenever they do it because they feel there will be no type of consequences. But in reality, if the parents don't check them, there are always going to be consequences in life in general.
Especially if their dad does not check them, because we know how little boys get. Every now and then they want to try to buck up on you, and you have to put them in a place. But let me say this: I have PTSD. I know it, and there are things that trigger my PTSD.
Right.
So anybody that's around me or that's close to me, I always let them know what those triggers are. Also, because I know them, I also try to stay away from those. Period. Um, so I like that the word says, "Be angry and sin not," because even we saw a moment where Jesus got angry when he walked into the temple and he flipped tables. So so I do believe anger is healthy, but we can allow it to go to an unhealthy state if
Yeah.
we don't control it.
Right.
We must control ourselves. That's the reason why that I said that I took ownership without anybody ever telling me. I took ownership to what I felt that was unhealthy and that could possibly lead to something or circumstances that I wasn't willing to pay the cost for. And that's what we all have to come to. And we should never ever get to a point to where that we say that our life is less important than the argument or the person that we're having the argument with. I love myself too much to kill myself. I love myself too much to even allow myself to be in a situation to even go to jail. But will I defend myself? Yes. And when I defend myself, that's something that's totally different. Look, because I will Ric Flair you quickly. But I'm just saying. But that's when you put yourself in that position to be Ric Flair. That means that you put your hands on me. You put your hands on me. You gonna deal with the anger and the rage that I release later on.
But
or,
also,
or
I'll say
yeah.
something again, like you said. Key thing is release. We got to teach people that when you're angry, you have to have a release. It's like, again, if you boil water in a tea kettle, after a while, it's going to start making noise because it's need to come out. Likewise, if you're not, if you're angry and you're not talking about it, you're not dealing with it in a constructive manner, eventually it's gonna come out. And sometime when it comes out, it's like people who are quiet. The worst people are quiet people because they're angry, but you do one thing and then they just black out on you. they say, what did I do? It wasn't you. It was like all the other things that they held in for all those years, and they're gonna take it out on you, and consequently, that's when they do something either illegal or fatal that caused them to be a bigger problem.
That's why it's important to know your triggers. You need to know what triggers you, and if there are people around you that trigger off that anger, and your emotions get out of control, you're filled with anxiety, you stay away from those people.
Yes.
Just stay away from those people. There's certain movies that you can't watch. There's certain conversations that you cannot have with people because it will stimulate that, and that anger will rise because that's a good analogy, Reverend Jay. What's in you gonna boil up.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually it will boil up. So if it's in you, it's going to come up. So if you know that, and I salute Dr. Isaac, because PTSD is no joke. I deal with several clients I have with PTSD, but the emotional thing, and I teach that, and I go over it and over it and over it. You have to learn how to control your emotions. If you don't learn how to control your emotions, it's going to get out of hand and you're going to flip out. You are going to flip out. You're going to snap out. Going back to that lady that killed those 6 people, she was at the hospital and had a breakdown. And sent her home, and she was actually on the highway with her phone out the window. That's terrible. So now they have to determine whether it was suicide or just her doing it on purpose, going 90 to 100 miles an hour. But you have these people out there and they're angry. And some people, I heard, I think it was Lady V said, she asked the question, where does this anger come from? A lot of anger comes from little people, that grow up to be angry big people that have children, and now they express that to the children. You read it all the time where parents are killing their kids because they're angry.
And that's why
I also think that sometimes I think some of the anger too comes from unmet expectations. Is when someone has some high expectations of someone, and those people do not meet those expectations, and I think the anger can come from that too.
Or if you get upset because of somebody, what you thought somebody was, then you that's mental health or something going on. But that is why, and I take my children are 10 years and 11 years apart. And it does start with home first. The boys would raised totally different from Adriana due to the fact that was a different time frame in my life as a mother, as well as the environment. The boys were, I don't want to say an experiment, but we don't have a handbook on how to be a parent. So the boys are back to back. So when they were boys, they got their butt toe up. And they got their butt toe up according to how I thought you were supposed to spank a child, which was not a spanking, it was a whooping back then, which is how my mom whooped me, meaning this. I knew not to pick up nothing that were like a pan or a water hose and stuff like that, like extension cord, like my mom whooped me, but they did get a whooping with switches and belts. Okay, move forward as time went by. As I got older, I learned that is not the way to discipline your child successfully. For one, you need to. Adriana probably got 5 spankings. When I say spanking, don't do that type of spanking. She don't know nothing about. She's a great daughter. I have never had any issues with her. But with the boys, they wish you would. They had that type of attitude. I have great kids, but my boys are. I wish you would. They snap, crack, and pop like that. Adriana's more like, don't do that. No, mommy. Even at 22 years old, she's like, mommy, do you know what? You know, that type of thing. Even at 20 years old, I remember her calling me saying, Mom, can I say this cuss word? When my boys let you have it. So it starts with the parenting, but also what you have been taught on. I was brought up on you bust your butt and talk about it later, or you better shut up, or I'm gonna give you something to talk about. That right there haunts me to this day, because had my mom not said those words and let me be able to express myself how I was feeling, then I don't think I would have anger issues. And this is what I say I have anger issues on. I have PTSD. I said PTSD.
When
it comes to what you say, Ralph?
PTSD.
I have PTSD, and it clicks the minute I know somebody lying. When you lying, and I know you lying, when I tell you I get pissed off, and I get pissed off, and I get PTSD and anger issues, somebody kill me. Okay, so those are the two.
line over there.
Hey, look.
So this is the
Hey,
thing.
look. I saw about this much before. I saw about this.
So we see you on the news. I know what happened.
But
I have a question.
This is the thing. How I handle this is the thing. I mean, I'm laughing about it now, but I thank God I was able to recognize what my triggers are. And it I ain't gonna lie, I'm joking now, y'all, but it is lying and cheating. Now, back in the 90s, I was that person that got in my car and went to your house ready to go off.
Wow.
That was back in the 90s. But Silvadia today, and what I've did for the years on, after the 90s, I've learned how to hear what you're saying when you're lying to me and charge it to the game. And I don't talk. I either don't deal with you anymore, or I'm silent until I'm ready to talk. Now, Isaac can tell you this. Now, Isaac don't like his treatment to be silent. He wants to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I want to be quiet and not talk to you, not be in your presence until I calm down and I'm able to talk to you as like two adults can talk. But I is the type of person to be like, no, let's talk about it now.
No, hold on.
5 minutes later,
I have a question. So when you talk about anger, do you think that some people, because I relate anger to unforgiveness, I think
Oh
that
yes.
a lot of times people become angry because they hold things in from their past, from things that people have done. Because one thing I found, and a lot of times people will say to me, well, you act like you just don't care. It's not that I don't care, and it's not that I'm not empathetic to some things, but there are some things I feel like people hold on to way too
Too
long.
long.
And when you
Oh yeah.
hold on to stuff, that's where the anger it gets down deep. It's like, I get it, things have happened. Now don't hate me. Don't hate me. Things happen. People get divorced, people get disappointed, people do things, people whatever. But when you just choose to hold on to stuff, I think that my question is, what do you want done? Like, if, for instance, if you had a bad, and I think that Isaac and Joy, y'all been divorced. What do you want done? Like, if you still talking about that same breakup that happened four,
Mhm.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, and now it's over, the person done moved on. What do you want that person to do?
Well,
Like,
Yeah,
some
what
people,
do you
you know,
want?
that's a
hey,
good thing. That's a good point. Reverend, Dr. Isaac, just give me one half a second
okay,
on
go
that
ahead, go ahead.
point. You that is called justification. Some
Mm.
people are trying to become justified because they're divorced and they're holding on to this thing. They don't want to face the truth. It takes two people to make a marriage, and it takes two people to break a marriage.
Mm.
So, but you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself to see if, what could I have done differently? A lot of
Mhm.
people are angry, like you said, because they're holding grudges. That unforgiveness. I don't care if it's just one thing that you did that you could have done differently in that relationship. Silvadia mentioned lying. There's a couple that told this wife told one lie throughout the whole 15 to 20 years. And that man held that thing on her forever. He was a cheater. He was a this. He was a that. Well, that didn't count. It was that one thing that she did. And she couldn't understand, why is this marriage breaking up over what I did? So now she feels, well, I really do. It was just a one, it was just a one lie. It was still a lie. Admit that you lied, admit that it hurt him, ask for forgiveness, and keep it moving. Because you
Yeah,
cannot change the way a person feels about you, and you definitely can't make a person love you.
yeah, and I also think that some of that anger, when it comes to relationships like that, I also think that anger comes from unanswered questions, and
Yes.
I think that that most of all of us also want, for us to get closure, we want the answers that
Yes.
we want the answers for the questions that we have, and sometimes when you don't get that, it actually build up uh,
Anger.
um,
Yes. Yes.
anger. Okay, so one thing that I said to Saveda about her anger is that there are other things to talk about, and life is still going on even while you're angry about even though you're angry about one thing. I understand that you're angry about one thing, but there's other conversations that we can have. And
Okay, so on that point right there, that was my other comment. We have got to stop telling people how to control their anger, and if it doesn't affect you physically, mentally, or emotionally. Emotionally, it might. And I give you an example. If I'm upset at Isaac about something he did to me, I don't want to deal with Isaac. I'm using Isaac as an example. I don't, if I can't talk about how blue the sky is and how the flowers are perfectly pink outside if he's peed me off. I don't know about y'all if y'all can do that, but I have not successfully been able to do that. But what I can do is this right here. I can take a moment to myself, maybe a day or two, maybe even three, depends on how pissed off I am at him. and then come back and talk to him in a civil manner that were civilized manner where I'm not cussing at him. I don't have a stank attitude, whatever the case may be, depending on what that subject is. But we have got to stop telling people like what he just described. If you are the person that made that person mad, the last person they want to see and talk to is you. Now, the other caveat to that part is this right here. When somebody just said we hold on to the anger. I think that was you, Dr. B. If you've done something to me and you are still trying to gaslight me, meaning this, Saveda, Joy can say Saveda, Joy could have stole my credit card, and I know she don't do that kind of stuff. But if I got you right here on camera and you sitting up here telling me, Saveda, no, I just went and got a piece of gum, but I saw you on camera take my card out, and we still going back and forth. I'm gonna have to cut Joy completely off. I'm not gonna keep going back and forth when I know you have did what you have did. But again, for me, it's the gaslighting that gets me when you confront the person that has made you mad and they continue to say, "No, I didn't," or that, and then if they do admit it, if you do catch them and they say, "I did it," it's never "I'm sorry." It's always put back on you as you're the problem. So those type of people, I just cut them out of my life, or I feed them with a long handle spoon. I just don't deal with them.
Okay.
But I think that too, when you talk about anger, and I want to go back to when we have built up anger from things that have happened in our lives, I think that a lot of times it has to become where we can effectively express whether it was something from the past or whether it's something that happens today. One thing I found, I used to have it where I would blow up, and now I'm like, I pick and choose my battles. I feel like people should pick and choose their battles, because a lot of times, one, I kind of realized that life tomorrow is not promised. So go back to the accident. When I look at somebody that is that outraged, I'm like, man, you took 6 lives for some unnecessary stuff. I don't know what that man said to you that pissed you off that bad, where you hanging your phone out the car. Mm-hmm. That's built up anger. That's not just an isolated situation. That's years and years of some stuff that's down deep. Mm-hmm. That you done took it out on some people. You done killed some people, and I can't even feel sorry for you. That's the thing. I can't feel sorry for you. I tried to for about 2 days be in her shoes and be like, well, was she asleep? Was something going on? I had the conversation with my mom. Like, what? But you just downright was angry to the place that, and one thing that angry people got to understand, and I realized, once you say it and it comes out your mouth, or you've done it and it comes out your mouth, you can come back and you can say, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. But you know what? You said it. And you put it out there in the atmosphere. And once it's out there in the atmosphere, no matter how that person responds, you can't take it back. You can't. And that's what people don't realize. It's like you're responding off of some jacked up stuff that somebody else did to you, but you don't realize that how you respond. If I go and I bust the windows out your car, now I'm costing you money, I'm costing me money, and I can't take that back. So when we talk about anger and we talk about when people say things, I got to step back and I got to remember, first of all, who you are. I love you. If I love you and I care about you, I'm going to stop before I say anything. Because, yes, reality, our loved ones, they can tick us off. But depending on how I say it, I can't take the words back. I can't erase it. Yeah. And once you put it out there, now that person, they may not ever say anything. And this is for women, especially. When you say something to your man, you can't take it back. Now, he may not ever say nothing. He may go on with his life. He may go on with his life for a few years, but he ain't never those words that you said, because those words tear down, they hurt, they abuse, the angry people abuse people. So you
Yes.
gotta be careful, like how you say things and how you do things. Go back to what Silvadia said with your children. You learn. Like I didn't do my two youngest ones like I did my two oldest ones because I got
Mhm.
wise and I learned how to say, no, I really don't like when you do that. I
Yeah.
really don't. They got less spankings than my two oldest ones because I got wiser. Well, I also got wiser on as an adult how to deal with adult people. Sometimes I
Mhm.
just walk away. I just be like,
Yeah.
you know what? It ain't even worth the
I,
argument. I'm just
Right.
going about
Yeah.
my
I
business.
think it's,
You
I think
know,
But you know what? A lot of times, on that note too, a lot of times people get angry and ticked off about something that a person said to them presently, and the anger is so deep down inside from something else until that thing fuses. Because
yeah.
there are some things, if we would just think about it, just think about it for a moment, that someone said something to you, it's really not that deep. We should be able to handle it. But because of suppressed anger, it just triggers that thing off. It's from old anger, and I'm one to tell you that I lived that for a long time
Mm.
because of the way I was raised, the things that was said to me. I didn't know why I was so angry. I didn't know, but I had to reflect and I had to start thinking and lashing out at my husband, lashing out at him because of something that was said to me when I was 8.
So how do men and women if they find out their significant other, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, has cheated on them, they got proof of it. So are they supposed to be like, okay, sweetheart, you cheated. That's not okay.
I
No,
don't think you have to
no,
do that.
No,
But
you,
I also think
guess
that you must
I don't
understand.
think they should be going down the highway killing folks. Don't do
no,
anything that'll
no.
harm
no.
anybody.
But
I
then
think,
that's
I
the
think,
reason why
I
that
think
we
that's
said that it's that's about self-control.
yeah.
Anger
right.
is all
Right.
about
So
self-control. So
so self-control can
so
be not talking at that
yes,
moment.
no, but what we're stating is that regardless of what that self-control looks like, regardless of what it is, the the anger is healthy. Remember, anger is healthy. Having the rage, and
It's the problem.
that's the unhealthy portion
Mhm.
of anger, and
Right.
that's the portion that we must control. Don't nobody else take ownership to that except for you, because if someone ever gets you to the point to where your anger become rage, you have allowed the situation to control you.
yeah.
And we should never be in a position to where we have lost complete self-control. I got to
Right.
step off because I got to go to my bowling game.
But
Well,
some,
And
some
that's
people,
I want to say,
some
just,
people are,
I want to say,
some people are angry because they can't make a decision.
yeah.
They're angry at themselves because they can't make a decision. It's just like this example that Silvadia used with someone cheating on you and so forth and so on. Make a decision. You got to exit. You got to get
Okay,
rid of that.
so right, you got the answer, but then let's get over here with these Christian folks. Pray about it, work it out. Don't give
No,
up
no,
on your marriage and
no.
all
Well,
this kind of stuff.
I think again, you must as a person make a decision
Yeah.
about what you want to do,
Right.
in that situation.
I'm just
Because
Um,
saying about
and
I think
listen,
everybody's
listen,
mad
listen,
at
and listen, and
infidelity
listen,
in
Listen,
marriage.
and listen.
let's leave Christian people out, worldly
Yeah,
people out. The decision is up to the
Right.
individual.
yeah.
I'm not going to allow you to abuse me, cheat on me, lie to me when I know you are lying and I stay in your life. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I have to make a decision, and I'm out.
And
And then
like
here's
Dr.
the
Bennett
thing.
said, I think sometimes, go ahead.
Sometimes some people don't walk away. But I
There
think
are.
that if you find that your loved one has done you wrong, whatever the case may be, you still go back to something Isaac said. You got to step back and now you got to think, how do I want to handle this? Is where accountability comes in. How do I want to handle this situation? Do I want to confront this person? Do I want to think on it? Do I want to say something? Because sometimes you need to not say anything.
Yeah,
Sometimes you need to wait until it can come out where you not fist fighting and all of that, because now you're talking about your life too. You're talking about domestic violence and everything else. So best practice is when you have controlled anger. Controlled anger means, okay, yep, you did something, and I need to step back for a minute. I need to think about what
Exactly.
you did.
Yeah.
But
And that's my
of what
technique there. I understand the situation that went on, but if I address it right now, we're going to be arguing for hours. So let me take a moment to breathe, to hear what you said, what I said, and let me revisit this at a later time. If that later time is a day or two, maybe even 3 sometime, I'm talking about past tense, but then allow me to do that, because what I don't want to, what I've learned in the past, that I say things that I truly didn't want to say. I regret what I said. So now in the past, 10 years or so, I've learned just to voice my opinion on how I feel about the situation or whatever happened. And I'm not just talking about cheating or whatever, I'm just talking about life, period.
No.
But even if it's something at work, you handle it differently. You don't bark.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, again, it is the Bible says this. Many offenses will come,
Yeah.
but forgive. And this is where because forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for and real forgive. And again, you can say, you know what? And the worst thing you say, you know what? The worst thing you can say is, I'm not gonna deal with it. No, you need to deal with it. And you need to deal with it to the point where that you can say, you know what? I dealt with it. I'm gonna let it go. Which means that I'm not gonna bring it back up again. And again, and for example, I'll give an example. There's many people, I have drivers, we have confrontations. They try to get loud at me. I got loud back. But guess what? I don't hold no anger to them, no emotions. We can work together. We can make money together. And again, if they decide to do it again, I'll just make a decision. You know what? How about this? We just part ways.
Yes.
So again, learning how to make a decision, like Dr. Bennett said, and because most people are angry at not other people, angry at themselves about the past decisions that they have made.
Yes.
Because they chose, you know what? They didn't get wise counsel, and they chose to keep going on, keep trying to work things out, and then work out the way it's supposed to. But I really want to recommend forgiveness.
The hardest person to forgive is yourself.
Oh yes, definitely.
You're the hardest person to it's easy to pass that buck off onto somebody else, but what about me? My decisions. How did I get in this? How did I get in this situation? How did I get to this point? So
and I think that also not allowing other people to hold things against us.
That's right.
That's an angry place too. That it works both ways. That's why I said people who hold on to things and they're angry at people for whatever happened. And so now how do you know that you're in that situation? Is when you keep talking about it. If I keep talking about things that happened, like I can't even remember.
Still angry about it.
I can't remember half the people that have made me angry in the world today. It's like, unless you did it today, I'm not really because this is the thing. What do I want them to do?
Yeah.
What if they can't apologize? What if they're not in a position where they can come and they can make it right? What do you want that person to do? And vice versa. I said that to one of my children. What do you want me to do? What is it that when we make mistakes as parents? Silvadia, you were talking about how we disciplined our children, because there was times where I may have done some things that my children may have thought that
I know I have.
But this is what I cannot do. I cannot turn back the hand of time.
Right.
Unwind the belt.
Right.
That hit your behind.
Right.
And make it go away. I can't do it. So
I will say that I did apologize. I mean, because sometimes anger can be stopped with a simple apology. Now, for my boys, my boys, I did not abuse my children, but I did whoop them different from Adriana. Like, they got whoopings with belts. So when I knew better, that's when I went back and apologized to my kids. And I explained to them that I did not know how to do X, Y, and Z. And all 3 of my kids, we have a great relationship to this day. But what I'm saying is, what I also learned when I learned how to control my anger is learn how to apologize for the things that I had too much pride to say.
Yes.
You know, we can whoop our children, we can go off on our spouse, we can do all that. And then when they open our eyes to what we were wrong at, then we're too big to say, you know what, you're right, or you know what, I'm sorry. So that's the other part that I added to my life, is to be a big girl and go back and apologize for what I did was wrong.
And that's good. That's good, Silvadia. And not only does it help the parent, it helps the child, because the child can open up, that adult child can open up and apologize to the parent, because there are some children that need to apologize to their parents the way they have treated them.
But the thing is, here's the thing: if you said you're sorry as a parent, or you said you're sorry as a spouse, and that person chooses not to forgive you,
then you don't did your part. You don't did your part.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that some people, they're angry because somebody didn't come back and say, I'm sorry. And I said to them, I'm like, well, what do you want them to do? Yeah. You want them to cut their arm off? You want them to cut an ear? What do you want to do? Because everybody is not going to give you an apology. So you got to make a conscious decision. You know what? I'm going to let it go to free myself. Because a lot of times we're angry over situations that happen that somebody didn't come back and say they were sorry for, and they done moved on with their little life. They best life. They having a real good time, and we still angry over, that was so messed up what they did. Okay. They did it. It happened.
One of the greatest ways to get rid of that anger, that deep anger, is to stop playing that CD over and over and over. Stop going over, because there's nothing you can do about what happened in the past. You can't even remember all of what happened. But if somebody else is remembering and they come to you, be humble enough to say, well, you know what? Charge it to my head and not to my heart. I am really sorry that I said that to you and I did that to you. If they don't accept it, your slate is clean. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you one thing that helped me was this. This is my thought on, and people have done me wrong. I mean, you've been amazed that if you got done wrong the way I've been done wrong, you'd still be angry, because I could have done probably some jail time. But how I look at things, no one has done nothing that has stopped God from blessing me. Never. So that's why, again, I hold no grudge against nobody, because no one can do anything bad to me that can stop me from moving forward. And that's what I learned. So again, yes, me and the person may have disagreements, things may not work out, but guess what? As long as the Lord keeps on blessing me, I'm like, I love you. God bless you. Have a good life. Now again, there's some things I may not deal with that person with, because of what happened. But again, like for example, my brother and I, we got into an altercation before we went on vacation. We dealt with it. We talked about it. Went down to Florida, had a good time. But hey, but again, you gotta let things go. I'm telling you, you gotta let them go, because
let it go.
If you don't let it go, you'll find yourself doing things that you never thought you would do. Because I believe this: anger leads to spiritual blindness. And think about this. When we've done the most crazy things, it's because we're probably angry about something.
Yes. And whatever you don't deal with, it'll deal with you.
That is true.
You don't deal with it, it'll deal with you.
And
the older you get, the worse it gets.
A lot of people think that young lady wanted to commit suicide. But look at this. She lived. And she's got to deal with that guilt.
She got to deal with that for the rest of her life.
For the rest of her life, for something so stupid. You took 6 people's lives for you feeling some type of way. And now you really live. You ain't in a coma, you ain't in anything. That is something that really, really should impact people. When when you don't deal with things and you don't talk about things and you don't have accountability in your life, it causes you to misjudge how you do things and how you respond
Yes.
to things. And that's what causes people to go off the deep end. So it's really important that people they talk. Silvadia, last words.
Don't let somebody else demons disrupt your happiness.
Good. Reverend J.
Like there's rain and storms, they cease. Guess what? Nothing nobody would do to you will last forever. You will always be able to move forward and move on if you just keep on walking and just let things go.
Dr. Bennett?
I would say think before you speak
Mm.
because you are what you eat.
Oh, wow.
Joy.
Understand that life happens to everyone. Nothing's going to be perfect. And understand that no matter what, God has a purpose and God always has a plan. So let go and let God.
That's right. Amen.
I would say love. Love conquers all. You know, the more you love yourself, the more you love God, the more you love yourself, the more you love people, and then you're able to kind of develop soft skin, and it just flows off. It just flows off the more you love. So love people. Don't take everything so serious. You know, the same things that we have done and we ask for forgiveness, we got to be forgiving. So we don't hold things in and we don't make judgment calls the wrong way.
Right.
Well, you have been watching Breaking the Silence. You have a voice, and we've been talking about anger management and how it is an internal poison. So we thank all of our viewers for coming on today, all of our Caribbean viewers and our Facebook viewers and Instagram and YouTube. We air every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We also have Reverend J. Tell us real quick, when do you guys air?
We aired just about every Friday at 8 p.m.
Okay, the name of your
YouTube,
show?
Facebook. Our show is Let's Talk About It with Reverend J and Joy.
All right. And Silvadia, tell us about your show.
It's called Come Through with Silvadia. We air every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We talk about a little bit of everything. If you like to tune in, come on over this Thursday. We're going to be talking about insecurities. We will have Miss Joy and Lady V, as well as another friend of mine on the show. So come on over and watch us.
And listen, everybody, these topics are for everybody. You know, we welcome your comments. If you want us to talk about something, put it in the inbox. I've gotten some people that have given me some ideas on some topics. So we welcome your ideas on this show because we want you to know that you do have a voice. But we are going to see you all next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And we wish everybody a happy evening. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.